Okay, I'm now recording this section, so voices down, please. Look at the screen. All right, I'm just trying to project so I can get the audio good. This is a little dinky laptop. All right, now, what can you notice about? Okay, so I've cleaned the bottom data. So those two have been fixed. What can you notice between with this one and that one? Yeah, correct. It doesn't have the letters. Thanks, Nicholas. And also, is anything else anyone notices? Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you another question.
Okay, I'll answer your question later. What else do people notice about this compared to that?
The sides.
Yeah, it's correct, Arian. That's really good. It's a line. That's where you know that there's not numbers. The computer thinks it's words. So we need to fix that. You don't usually put your units next to your numbers. You usually do that when you do math and you write answers, and it's good in that context. But when you actually dealing with data, you put it in the top. So you see you got actual voltage V. Let's put that down there. So this is the cleaning. What I want you to do, first task for all of you, is just get rid of all the letters in there. So that's your first task. That's all it is. Get rid of them. You can see they go to the right. It's getting fixed. All right, that's your very first task. Bit boring, but at least I'm only making you do a little bit. I'm just going to pause the recording now. Grab your attention, please. Let's go back to where we were. All right, so I've restarted the recording. So, okay, another thing we like to do is filter. Now, this step, if you're savvy and you know what you're doing, you don't need to do this, but this is a good habit in order to kind of just group the stuff you need. You don't want to destroy the stuff you don't want. Its data is valuable. Trust me on this. I've had people lecture me. That's my uni course. People just telling data is valuable. Okay, but what we're going to do 4 graphs. Mac, just grab your attention. You can talk. You can help people in a minute. Okay, so we're going to grab the actual voltage and the current. Those are the two we need for the first 3 graphs. We're going to copy paste them. Now, when you paste them, I'll show you the options. Just to be safe, I'm going to paste as values. Let's see that one. Values is the second one. What that does is it makes sure it doesn't refer to it. So if you do the first one and you change it back at this original source, it'll change that one as well. We're just going to take what we know and just trust that it's correct. Okay, so we're not going to modify them anymore. Now, what you can also do, if you don't like the way it's formatted, you can extend that so you actually can read that whole thing, and we can do the same thing there. Okay, now, they're going to look very samely. Like when I do this one over here, you notice they're basically going to have the same thing. We need to distinguish which one they are. So I'm going to put a little thing on the top saying that this one is for 1 light globe. And you got 2 light globes and 3 light globes. I think you might get the general idea. All right, so you can continue now. I'll grab your attention again in a minute. No, we're doing all 3. And we're going to do another filtering in a minute. I'll show you that one afterwards. No, I'll pause it. Okay, am I recording now? I believe I am. All right, so we're live. Okay, so now, typically in a science perspective, if we want to graph bivariate data, so like one variable in terms of numbers on the x and one variable in terms of numbers on the y, you put the x1, your independent variable, on the left-hand side of the column, and you put that other one, the dependent variable, on the right-hand side. Fortunately, that's how we organize it anyway. But because there's only 2 things there, Excel can't really make too many mistakes. But we see what happens. Like you might have different versions on your thing. We might find something mysterious happens. But let's see what happens. Okay, now see what I've done? I've highlighted, guys. I've highlighted the data I want. Just those 2 columns. I'm going to go insert. Watch here. Click on this one. Insert scatter. And I'm going to do it with the lines attached like this. Okay. So you've got a graph. All right. So it's a scatter graph, but it's kind of joined the dot to dot. I usually don't do it this way. I'll do a scatter graph, but with what we're doing here is actually is called for. All right. So watching this way. This is important because to get the full marks, you need a properly labeled with a title and with axis labels too. How do you add your axis labels? All right. If you click on your graph, go across, you see that plus sign in the top right-hand side. I'll help you with this if you can't find it or whatever, if you forget. Okay, click on that and particularly go to and turn on axis labels. Okay, now we're going to give a proper title. So this one will be current versus voltage. I'll help you in a minute. Okay, current versus.
It says access title.
Access titles, same thing. Yeah, it might be a different version. All right, current versus. Okay, I'll help you in a sec. Okay, I'm just going to do it for most people. Guys, just keep watching. I'll do this for most of you, and then I'll come help you individually. Okay, so don't worry. I'm going to pause it, and I'll come and help you. All right, current versus. Now, actually, actual voltage, I prefer to say measured voltage because it's more descriptive. Because it's the one you actually measured. So that's why I call it actual, but it's probably better called measured voltage.
And what's the access title?
Okay, on the x-axis, if you've done it correctly, it will be the measured voltage in volts, and the y will be the current. I'll do that in a sec, and I'll leave it up. All right, current voltage for one globe. Okay, that's important. So we're going to have several graphs. It's important that we distinguish them. Okay, light globe. Okay, on the x-axis, it's actual voltage or measured voltage. I'm going to call it measured voltage. All right, the current is A or amps. Okay. I'm just going to put words in there so it makes it look nice. Okay.
Does that say current access?
Current in amps. I don't know why that's not centered. I moved that across a bit. That's better. Okay. Guess what? You now have full marks for that one because that was everything you asked for in the last prac. You asked for a graph with a title, with axis labels, with units. Boom, done. Perfect. Now just do that again for two more. So do it for 2 light globes and 3 light globes as well. I'm going to pause the recording and I'll help people individually. You need to pay attention to because I'm going to do a few things. Again, I'll come around and help you as needed. All right, sit down. All right, so we're going to do a graph. It's going to have the data for all 3. Now, there's a bit of a problem with that. If you notice your actual voltage is actually not consistent. You're waiting? Okay. Your actual voltage is not consistent for each globe. It's close, but what we're actually going to use instead, for the third graph, we're going to use the power pack reading, so what you actually dial the knob to when you use the device. We're going to use that as the independent variable. So on the bottom, have a look at what I've done. I've gone and copied the PowerPoint voltage. Guys, close it. All right. So copy the power pack voltage and then copy the current from each of the experiments, but make sure you label them. So it's 1 globe current, 2 globe current, 3 globe current, something to that effect. I'll explain why that's important when we do the graph. So first thing, I want to see people just copying that down. If you haven't done all 3 of the other graphs, just do this so you can follow along the next section. All right, actually I'll pause it there. Okay, this is the very last thing. Everyone's going to, we're pretty much at the end run. I mean, some people might need a bit more help to fix up a couple of things, but we're nearly done. There's only one more thing I want you to do this lesson, which is we're going to learn how to graph all this stuff together. As I mentioned before, we picked the power pack voltage because it was consistent, even though it's a bad approximation. But at least there's a single X value. The way we have to do Excel is the best we can do. So just watch this way. If you haven't quite got this set up, that's all right. Fix it up in a minute. But I'll show you why it has to be written this way. Like most of the stuff I've done, if you set it up correctly, Excel, you do have to do a lot less work. So that's why we do this filtering stuff. Okay, highlight all of that. Go into the same thing. We're doing exactly the same thing, and we'll see what happens. Now, let's have a look at this graph I just did. Let's bring it down. Let's have a look at it. Okay. Now have a look at the bottom. Because of the way I labelled those columns, so if you look up here, see 1 globe A, 2 globe A, 3 globe A, that's copied here. And it's in different colours, so that's very clear which one represents what. That is why I asked you to do it like that. If you didn't do it like that, you have to go back and fix it or restart it. It's actually, yeah, we'll add the axes and we'll add the titles. Yeah. Once you've done that, once you add the axis titles, so this is voltage, this is current versus voltage, I should say power pack voltage for light globes. Okay, your axis title here will be current. And this one is voltage. This one is power pack voltage. Now, I think I've been doing volts, so I've just made that consistent with what I've been doing. Okay. Okay. So that's how you go about doing that. That is perfect now. All right. There is one more thing I'm going to ask you to do. Once you've mastered all this stuff, you've got 10 minutes. So if you got if you've done it correctly the first time, you won't have to watch the recording of this to fix it up. You can use this now, all this stuff you just done in your practical. So I've just kind of together, we've done a lot of the hard work, and we've done it as quickly as we could by just following techniques of data science. The very last thing I'm going to ask you to do is go into Daymap and submit to formative task scatterplots in Excel if you've finished. All right. So I'm just going to pause the recording and help you so you can do that.